May 1945. Germany lay in ruins. The cities that had once pulsed with industrial might now stood silent and broken, their factories twisted by fire, and their rail lines torn apart by relentless bombing. Yet amid that destruction, Allied intelligence officers were moving swiftly, not in search of gold or art, but of knowledge. Deep within the collapsing Reich were technologies the world had never seen before. Pulse jet engines, radar systems, advanced submarines, and aircraft that seemed to belong to another era entirely. Among them was one machine that captured Allied attention more than any other: the Messerschmitt Me 262. The world's first operational jet fighter. For years, Allied pilots had reported strange silver shapes flashing past their bomber formations at speeds that seemed impossible. Rumours had spread of a new German wonder weapon, but few had ever seen one up close. That would soon change. When Germany surrendered, Allied technical units, codenamed Operation LUSTY, short for Luftwaffe Secret Technology, fanned out across airfields from Bavaria to Schleswig-Holstein. Their orders were simple: locate, secure, and ship every intact German aircraft and engine they could find. At Lechfeld airfield, south of Augsburg, they found it. Rows of Me 262s abandoned by their pilots, some riddled with bullet holes, others perfectly intact. The airfield had once been home to JG-7, the world's first jet fighter wing. Now it was a graveyard of history. The Me 262 was unlike anything Allied engineers had ever examined. Twin Junkers UMO 004B1 turbojet engines hung beneath its swept wings. It was sleek, purposeful, built for speed. The aircraft's fuselage was clean and aerodynamic, its nose housing 4 fearsome 30mm Mk108 cannons, capable of shredding a heavy bomber in seconds. American engineers were astonished. This wasn't an experimental prototype. It was a production fighter, one that had already seen combat. The Allies quickly realized that they weren't just looking at a technological curiosity. They were staring at the future of aerial warfare. Under tight secrecy, the US Army Air Forces organized the Watson's Whizzers, a group of skilled pilots and engineers led by Colonel Harold E. Watson. Their mission? Recover as many flyable Me 262s as possible and ferry them back to Allied territory for detailed evaluation. But flying a captured German jet was no simple task. The UMO 004 was revolutionary, yet fragile. A marvel of engineering made from materials barely able to withstand the heat it generated. Built under wartime shortages, its turbine blades were crafted from inferior alloys, giving each engine a lifespan of only about 25 hours. The throttle had to be advanced slowly. Any sudden burst of power could cause the compressor to surge, flame out, or disintegrate entirely. Despite the risks, Allied test pilots stepped forward. Among them was Major Fred Becker, a veteran P-47 pilot. On a cool morning in May 1945, Becker climbed into the cockpit of a captured Me 262 marked with hastily painted US insignia. The ground crew had spent days inspecting the aircraft, patching fuel lines and cleaning debris from the engines. As the turbines spooled up with a haunting whine, a sound unlike any piston engine, witnesses felt they were watching the beginning of something extraordinary. The takeoff was sluggish at first. The twin jets took time to build thrust. But once airborne, the acceleration was breathtaking. The Me-262 surged forward, slicing through the sky with a smoothness no propeller-driven aircraft could match. Allied pilots who had fought the Luftwaffe's best, the Bf-109 and FW-190, suddenly understood how dangerous this jet could have been had it appeared in greater numbers. At 540 miles per hour, the Me-262 was faster than any fighter in the world. It could outclimb and outdive anything the Allies possessed. Only its engines, temperamental and fragile, kept it from dominating the skies. As the Allied test program expanded, several captured jets were shipped to Farnborough in England, where the Royal Aircraft Establishment began meticulous evaluation flights under the codename Operation Surgeon. British engineers studied the UMO 004's compressor design, its annular combustion chambers, and its primitive but ingenious variable nozzle exhausts. For the first time, they could see exactly how Germany had leapt ahead in jet propulsion. Meanwhile, in the United States, Me-262s created from Lechfeld were reassembled at Wright Field in Ohio. The Americans were fascinated not only by the engines, but by the aircraft's overall design philosophy. The swept wing configuration, 18.5 degrees, provided reduced drag at high speed, an idea that would later influence the design of the F-86 Sabre and the MiG-15. Test pilots noted the jet's quirks as well as its brilliance. The cockpit was cramped, the instrumentation spartan, and the control response heavy at low speeds. Landings were perilous. Without the powerful drag of a propeller, pilots had to rely entirely on air brakes and precise throttle management. But once airborne, the Me-262 was astonishingly stable. It was a machine built for the future, flown in a world that wasn't yet ready for it. For Allied intelligence officers, the captured jets were more than trophies. They were blueprints for the next generation. Engineers from Rolls-Royce, General Electric, and de Havilland studied the German metallurgy, the turbojet's blade cooling systems, and its combustion efficiency. Though crude by later standards, the Me-262's principles laid the groundwork for jet propulsion on both sides of the Atlantic. In Britain, these lessons influenced the design of the Gloucester Meteor's successors, the Vampire and Venom. In America, the insights fed directly into the development of the Lockheed P-80 Shooting Star. In the Soviet Union, reverse-engineered UMO 004s became the basis for the early Klimov turbojets that powered the MiG series. The captured German jet thus became the silent ancestor of every fighter that followed. But beyond the engineering triumphs lay a darker revelation. Allied analysts studying Luftwaffe records discovered how close Germany had come to deploying the Me-262 in overwhelming numbers. Had production begun just 6 months earlier, and had Hitler not interfered, demanding the jet be converted into a bomber, the outcome of the air war over Europe might have been far bloodier. In the months that followed, the Me-262s that survived capture were flown, photographed and dissected until their engines gave out. Some were displayed at air shows to awe the public, Others were quietly scrapped once their secrets were extracted. Only a handful would survive into the modern era, relics of a technological revolution born too soon. For the men who had flown them in secret, the experience left a lasting mark. They had glimpsed the future of flight, a future defined not by roaring pistons and spinning propellers, but by the eerie, continuous scream of jet turbines. In hangars across Wright Field and Farnborough, engineers worked late into the night, sketching new blueprints inspired by what they had seen. The lessons of the Me-262 would echo through decades, in Korea, in Vietnam, and in the skies over Europe once more. From the wreckage of a fallen regime, the Allies had seized not only victory, but vision. The knowledge that speed, altitude and power could no longer be measured by the rhythm of a propeller blade. The jet age had begun, and it was born from the spoils of war.